Welcome to the Nursing and Midwifery Emporium podcast, a podcast about this nursing life. I'm Nicole Nash-Arnold from Nurse Manager HQ.
And I'm Sue Walker from the Nursing CPD Institute. And together each week, we seek out interesting people to discover what a red-hot nursing life looks like. Nick, the topic today is what I wish I knew a year ago about nursing support options. And that is why we have the fabulous Mark Aitken with us today. Mark is the Consultant and Stakeholder Engagement Manager Extraordinaire and a registered nurse with Nurse and Midwife Support. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, Nick. Great to be here today.
Thanks, Mark, you extraordinaire.
Very kind.
Oh, I know. Tell us all about Nurse and Midwife Support. What's that about?
Thanks, Nick. Nurse and Midwife Support is the national support service for nurses, midwives and students. The service is anonymous, confidential and free, and any nurse, midwife or student can call us about any issue they need support for. It's a 1-800 number, 1-800-667-877, or any nurse, midwife or student can contact us via the website nmsupport.org.au. And we've been going since March 2017, supporting nurses and midwives all over Australia. It's a great service, so there's no need anymore for any nurse or midwife or student to feel that they're not getting support because we're only a phone call away.
Mark, that's a fabulous service. What are the big issues that nurses are talking to you and your team about?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously it changes and it's very individual what people call us about, but the themes seem to be, and this will be no surprise to our listeners or to either of you, around workplace stress and pressures in the workplace. Nurses and midwives feeling that they're not getting support in their workplace. Sometimes they perceive that as being bullied, whether it really meets the definition of bullying and harassment in the workplace or not is another thing, but that's certainly their perception, and so we need to be able to support them in relation to that. People call about mental health concerns, issues with drug and alcohol use or concerns around that. Might be family issues. They're calling about career transition, so wanting to progress their career, not being entirely sure how to do that, and wanting to talk to somebody about how to maybe take the next step in their career. So all sorts of things, and indeed any nurse, midwife or student can contact us about any issue, as I said, that they need support for. So if you're not sure, just call.
Yeah. So, Mark, it's something that I feel particularly passionate about, particularly things like workplace stress and culture and how people feel supported and, excuse me, the contribution that they make to that and what their environment is like. So if I was sitting in a workplace somewhere out in Australia as a nurse and I was really struggling with a culture where I felt like I wasn't supported and I found it incredibly stressful, and I ring your service, who picks up the phone and are they qualified to help me with, those varied things that you just talked about?
Yeah, our service is led by nurses and midwives who are trained in counselling. Yeah, so we understand the world that nurses and midwives live and work in because we are nurses and midwives. So the service is operated 24/7. It's provided by Turning Point, who are National Drug and Alcohol Support Service, and you may pick up the phone overnight, say between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. and get a counsellor who isn't a nurse, but you have the option to have a nurse or a midwife call you back. So between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. at night, a nurse or a midwife will definitely pick up the phone. The group is highly trained in supporting nurses and midwives. We've got over 400 years of shared knowledge and experience as nurses and midwives in the profession. So very experienced group of nurses and midwives providing that support.
Fantastic.
So, Mark, I understand the service is confidential. Can you give us some examples of how it has benefited our colleagues?
Oh, definitely, Sue. The colleagues are benefited because they get support when they need support, and they get to speak to somebody who, as I said, understands the world that they live and work in. And I think there's a real power in being able to tell your story, share your problem or your issue, and have somebody show you empathy, support, kindness, and hear what you've got to say without any judgment. And I think there's a great benefit in that. We provide brief intervention counselling and referral pathways. But in saying that, any nurse or midwife or student can call us as many times as they need to get support. We don't offer case management or ongoing counselling, but people can check in as often as they need to.
Mark, based on all of the amazing work that you've been doing at Nurse and Midwife Support over the time and the countless number, it sounds like, that have accessed the service, what is it that you wish that all nurses knew so that they can live their best nursing life?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I wish that all nurses knew about Nurse and Midwife Support. So there's over 410,000 registered nurses and midwives now across Australia. That's a lot of people to know about the service, so clearly they don't. So my wish is that they all do know about the service, so that if they need us, we're here, and they can just pick up the phone and speak to us, or go to our website and email us, or indeed access some of our great resources. So we've got website content. I make podcasts too, and you have both been a guest on one of my podcasts, so
Indeed.
People should take a listen to that. It's all about career transition and planning your career. And we have a quarterly newsletter which has got some great tips and information. Something that I think is very important for nurses and midwives to know about is that when you're in the care and service of other people, you have a much greater need to focus on and give yourself what you need in relation to your self-care. And what I talk about a lot now is, just as you develop a care plan for your patients, your residents, your clients, any person you care for, why not develop a self-care care plan for yourself? And it's something I'm very... So I wish that all nurses and midwives throughout Australia connected with and knew the value of engaging in and giving themselves what they need in relation to their own self-care.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And if they want resources, they can get them from our website. If they want to talk about how to go about it, they can contact one of our staff, and we'd be more than happy to guide them and to help them construct their care plan.
Mark, you provide an exceptional service, and I do know that thousands of our nursing colleagues have accessed the service since its inception, and you do wonderful work. So thank you for being our guest at the Emporium today and sharing with us the work that Nurse and Midwife Support does. Did you want to just give that phone number and website again?
Sure. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much to you, Sue, and to you, Nicole, for being great supporters and advocate of Nurse and Midwife Support. It's people like you that help us get the word and the message out there that support is only a phone call away. And that number again is 1-800-667-877, or contact us via the website www.nmsupport.org.au. 24/7, national, anonymous, confidential, and free.
Sue, how fabulous is Mark?
Isn't he gorgeous? And Nurse and Midwife Support is an absolutely exceptional service. What a shame it wasn't around years ago.
I know, of all the good days and bad days that we've had over the course of our careers, it would have been amazing to have someone that you could ring and who's a qualified counsellor. I love that you can just have a chat with and download. It's great to have someone completely objective in a way.
And you don't have to worry about being judged either.
No. And they don't know the people involved or the patients involved. It's confidential anyway. It's amazing what that objectivity can bring sometimes.
And half the time, if you hear yourself, if you hear what you're saying and you've got someone qualified at the other end of the line who's bouncing it back to you rather than giving you advice,
Yeah.
it's so much easier to work stuff out.
I know. Sometimes just the verbal processing is enough, where you say it all out loud and then you get to the end and you go, I think I should do X, Y, and Z. And then you go, great. And the other person on the end of the line has done absolutely nothing but been there. And that's not sometimes enough.
I agree.
I've not heard, well, I wasn't familiar with the term emotional labour until very recently, when I read an article on the ABC, on their blog recently. And it really struck me is, how have we not thought about this so much more before in our careers? Because like, if you're going to be a builder and you're going to be enduring physical labour for the course of your career, then you need to have a bit of a plan about how you're going to maintain your fitness until you want to retire. Yet no one has really got a plan around what we're going to do with our emotional fitness until the time that we retire. It seems so intuitive now, and yet we've not done it before.
And you look at all the things that nurses, like, we aim for that. We aim to be professionally detached, not emotionally attached.
Yeah.
Detached, so that you can be there to assist. But we deal with people at the most vulnerable and sometimes terrible points in their life.
Yes.
And you take that on.
Mm. And I think the opposite happens sometimes as well. There's a continuum that you swing back and forth from, where some days you care just too much and you're just over involved and it really, really hits you, and it affects you. And then others, for whatever your reason, you're tired, you're over shift work, your stuff's going in the world, and you couldn't care less. And that can be as distressing when you walk away and you think, I should have been more emotionally engaged and I wasn't, and you start to think, am I burning out? And it can be as distressing as being too involved.
And what you've just said is what we work under professional boundaries. Like,
yes.
it's that continuum. And that's one of our key core competences, to be able to understand those professional boundaries and not become over involved or under involved, because both of them are outside that professional therapeutic framework that we're all aiming for.
And that's not an easy balance to strike, which is why I love the notion of a care plan, because self-care, nurses are the worst for that. They're running around for 12-hour shifts, not going to tea and not going to the bathroom, so they've got a bladder up to their eyeballs. That alone, we can't get through a shift without you really having a care plan and looking at self-care. And yet over the course of our career, it's an amazing idea of having some sort of instrument that you develop with a professional who knows nursing, so that you can have a care plan. I think that's amazing.
I love that idea too. Like, most of us go into nursing because we are that, we are giving people. So you want to be able to make a difference in others' lives. But if you're giving at work and giving at home and giving in friendships and giving in relationships, then it can all become insurmountable, because at the end of the day, you prioritise everyone over yourself.
Yeah.
And you do need to be selfish. You do need to be a bit selfish to be able to preserve your own emotional health.
And I think there are some self-limiting barriers that nurses, as who we are as people, put up. Like, A, it's too indulgent, or B, it's too woo-woo and navel-gazy for me. And I think if you make it, a bit authentic to who you are, like, I can't imagine myself meditating, although I've been told a million times that, people get amazing gain from it. But the kind of things that I would be doing is, I find an incredible relaxing thing to do just going to the movies. I love going to the movies. As soon as those lights dim and the movies start, for some reason, I just go, oh my God, I'm suddenly relaxed. So for some reason, that would make its way onto my care plan, because that works for me. But, meditation wouldn't, and massages wouldn't. But, there's a full spectrum of things that you could be doing to make that up, that it looks like self-care that suits you.
No, I love that idea. So from now on, when we meet, I'm going to go, hey, Nick, is this a 4-movie week for you?
Yeah. It's the Nicole Nash Arnold Anxiety Index. How many movies I've watched.
I think that's a great index, and I agree. And we're not simplifying what a care plan is, and a care plan would contain multiple strategies.
Yeah.
But one for me would be, just being able to take the time to go out and spend an hour, in the garden, just doing nothing, think about nothing, watering something, without anyone asking anything of me.
No, exactly. And the Sue Walker Anxiety Index is how big your water bill is.
Yeah, that's right. When I get my rates notice, I'll go,
You're
wow,
like,
that was
oh,
a
it's
big
been
year.
a
I
bad
had
quarter.
a big year that year.
But it is like, I'm not an orthopedic ward nurse, and I know that the care plan for a post-op total hip is complex for the 5 to 7 whatever days that they stay in there, and it's more than just going to the movies and water in the garden, the equivalent. And the care plan for a nurse's emotional labour would be more complex than those things too. But that's why you've got amazing experts like the nurse and midwife support team that can work through that with you. But every one of us needs that. Every single one of us needs that.
I agree. And we need to prioritise ourselves, and we need to understand that our emotional health and our ability to function as a human being is as important as anyone else's. And I think that's what Mark was trying to, and he did it very eloquently, what he was getting across. It's about self-care. It's about us being able to have the resources to function as a whole human being in every aspect of our life.
Yeah. One of the things that I talk a lot about and feel really passionately about is have you heard the term VUCA? VUCA? Volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. So it's something that post the Middle East conflicts that America was involved in, the military walked away and went, geez, that was actually more complex and volatile than the previous theatres of war that we've engaged in, and they invented this notion of VUCA. And so, of course, lots of business and industries have picked it up because they've recognised that now in other industries. And I think it's the same for us. Like, nursing, and no matter what niche that you have, whether it's aged care, community or acute care or mental health, it is volatile and it is uncertain and it is complex and it's often really ambiguous, and that is so stressful, and that's not going away. And I think every one of us needs that so that we can navigate those worlds, so that we can stay. We picked this career, we want to stick with it to the end. So I think we need some strategies that we look after ourselves with that.
I could not agree with you more, Nick.
Well, Sue, we have solved the world's problems for every nurse in the country. So I think we should find someone else to pick their brains, meet again, and share that with our listeners next time.
I love solving the problems of the world.
I do too.
I think that's an exceptional thing, and I look forward to catching up with you next time too.
Catch you then.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Nursing and Midwifery Emporium. Make sure you visit us at the website www.nmemporium.com to subscribe to the podcast.
And if you'd like to put someone forward for us to interview, go to the same website and just click on the button.
See you guys.
Take care. Bye.